In Wuji City, another seemingly ordinary school day begins at Kaiyuan High School. Deep inside the campus, seclusion room 025 already hums with concentrated spiritual energy. Behind its sealed door, blue chi crackles while a lone student cultivates in silence. Suli calmly counts upward, forcing another surge through the academy's evaluation device. Blue flames coil around his arms as the reading races far beyond normal limits. With the test reaching 100, our boy considers stopping before anything breaks again. But curiosity wins, and the wrist monitor recalculates Suli's cultivation from scratch, flashing through 1090, 1000, and straight past the system's benchmark entirely. At level 9999, the machine finally throws repeated errors, leaving him genuinely stunned. Then a fresh explosion blasts energy through the room, because apparently 4 failures weren't enough. The overload shreds his clothes and launches broken device parts across the chamber, leaving the absurdly overleveled cultivator standing shirtless amid smoke and dancing blue flames. Annoyed, he realizes ordinary cultivators form foundations at level 10, while he's stuck at 9999, and before he can curse the fake tester, class monitor Luoshin demands entry. She storms through the smoke, furious that his explosions keep disturbing students and teachers, reminding him she has covered up every incident that should have gotten him banned. Luoshin suddenly pauses, noticing the demolished room looks worse than his usual disasters, with fires burning through wreckage where the Academy's 5th evaluation device once stood. Still embarrassed, he admits the machine exploded again after trying to measure his cultivation, so the skeptical monitor checks the roster, asks his current realm, and hears Key refining. Shocked by that answer, Lucian demands his exact level, and Suli claims 10,000, but she laughs at the obvious lie, since chi refining supposedly ends after level 9. Refusing to believe him, the monitor records Suli as 9th level chi refining on her roster, then reminds him everyone cultivates in seclusion mainly to earn admission into a strong university. Next month's martial power examination offers Wu Dao University applications only to foundation establishment students, and while other classes already qualify, Lucian fears their own group is falling behind. Worldwide spiritual chi is thinned during humanity's seclusion, letting demonic beasts multiply and weaken frontlines, while researchers predict an approaching 50-year post-apocalyptic era that could devastate civilization entirely. Once it begins, humanity's current martial artists may be hopelessly outnumbered by stronger beasts, so university recruits receive double resources and finish training in 3 years, making admission crucial. Suli dismisses the lecture and sends Luoshin away, earning one thoroughly deserved angry huff, before she marches across the wrecked chamber and calls the stubborn cultivator a bonehead. Alone again, he slams the wall, knowing 1 month remains before his university dream dies, until a phone in his pocket buzzes, giving this cultivation crisis one possible lifeline. Luoshin has sent him a cultivation forum where students can ask teachers for guidance, so he posts his impossible problem. 10,000 chi refining levels without reaching foundation establishment. 10 minutes brings 6 views and 0 replies, making him wonder whether nobody shares this glitch. Yet cultivation theory insists level 10 automatically solidifies chi and triggers the foundation establishment breakthrough. Deep in thought, he drops the phone as a radically different explanation finally hits him, because his growing chi flows throughout his body instead of solidifying. Perhaps he leaks like a colander. Before he tests that theory, the school orders everyone to assemble at the arena within 30 minutes, sending students sprinting across campus, while Suli casually joins the frantic rush. A huge red-haired student barrels the crowd, insulting everyone blocking his glorious entrance, boasting that nobody can match his sprint even when he uses only 10% power. His smug sprint abruptly falters when he notices Suli ahead among the students. Spotting the quiet figure sends the bully skidding to a sudden dramatic halt. Recognizing the school's former number 1, the redhead mocks him as the same useless trash, while Suli calmly smiles and deliberately mangles the loudmouth's name as Joe Shaw. The furious student corrects him, Joe Dao, and demands that name be engraved into his skull. Despite their history of Suli pinning and pummeling him whenever Joe Dao demanded rematches, everyone knows the self-proclaimed rival keeps challenging him, only to collect another humiliating defeat. Yet a blonde follower reports Suli remains trapped in chi refining, immediately reviving Joe Dao's courage. Now at 3rd level foundation establishment, the bully announces he can finally crush their fallen class champion, and shocked classmates accept that a chi refiner should never defeat someone from a higher realm. Zhou Tao doubles down, declaring this hierarchy absolute while openly daring Suli to contradict him, still haunted by a teacher's prediction that he might need years before catching his talented rival. Even worse, a pink-haired girl previously rejected Zhou Dao because she was interested in Suli, so he grabs his rival and blames every rejection and humiliation on that infuriating face. Unbothered, Suli removes the hand and says Zhou Dao's failures come from his own incompetence, leaving the 3rd level foundation establishment bully trembling with rage before the entire crowd. Snapping completely, Zhou Dao unleashes fiery foundation establishment power and charges with a murderous threat, while Suli calmly acknowledges that 3rd level strength feels impressive compared with ordinary students. Orange and blue chi collide, but one raised palm effortlessly catches the raging attack, and the impossible block leaves Zhou Tao staring into Suli's completely unfazed eyes. A tiny counterburst launches the heavier cultivator backward, smashing him straight through a nearby wall. As blue energy coils around Suli and stunned students question everything they thought about realms, Admiring classmates praise their champion, while Jodao's followers threaten to report the supposed assault, until Su Li turns toward the gathering witnesses, wearing his hood and an innocent expression. He casually asks whether anyone actually saw him attack Jodao during that brief exchange, and the crowd agrees Foundation backlash must have launched Jodao, because Chi refiners cannot win. With everyone happily rewriting reality for him, Su Li continues toward the arena seeking expert answers, crossing the academy's chi-filled grounds while staff and students stream toward the announced assembly. A passing voice wishes him luck, but his foundation problem still threatens examination eligibility before he finally reaches Kaiyuan High's massive arena for the school's 300th day assembly. There, Su Li greets Class 3 teacher Sun Huadi, who immediately asks about his cultivation, and our guy calls 10,000 trapped levels merely a few minor issues. Curious, Sun Huadi adjusts his glasses and offers to examine the strange cultivation result personally, then activates the chi line technique, surrounding his student with probing threads of blue energy. What the teacher senses behind those lenses instantly widens his eyes in disbelief. Su Li's chi is denser than the principal's foundation, yet somehow remains unmistakably chi refining. Rather than explain the impossible density, Su Li recommends a breakthrough hair growth treatment for his balding teacher, earning a swift book to the face and instructions to worry about himself instead. Sun Huide already recommended him to Wudao University, but now considers a non-cultivation career unavoidable, though the concerned teacher urges him not to abandon his future before the deadline arrives. Because stage examinations follow the assembly, Sun suggests delaying Su Li's test and hiding his condition, but before the student answers, his teacher gently asks for the exact current level. When Su Li calmly says 10,000, Sun Huade finally understands why every measurement device exploded, and the revelation leaves the teacher staring at him in speechless, electrified disbelief. Before he can react, a distant scream and violent blue streak signal trouble elsewhere on campus, sending Sun and Su Li sprinting toward reports that someone has been seriously injured. Where Sun treats a wounded girl and identifies peak Foundation establishment power behind the attack, students announce the principal's arrival, trusting the academy's strongest authority to handle the crisis. While at the quiet front gate, an exhausted security guard yawns through duty, and his partner protests when the slacker proposes napping during their regular working hours. The sleepy guard insists nothing can happen with every powerful expert inside Kaiyuan High, until several unfamiliar men appear, and the cautious partner demands student identification cards. Their massive blonde leader answers by smashing through the checkpoint and overpowering the guards, leaving one survivor crawling toward the emergency console while the intruders close in. But a red-eyed accomplice casually raises a stone before the alarm can transmit, then hurls it with lethal force, silencing the only immediate witness to their breach. Leaving bloody footprints behind, the intruders advance deeper into campus while frightened students scatter around them. Meanwhile, a sword-riding expert streaks overhead, making students assume a Golden Core master has arrived. The rider is Principal Wu Deifa, who privately hopes he can actually reach Golden Core soon. And upon landing, he hears the injured woman weakly identify Yama's order as her attackers. Her warning confirms a larger threat, even as the teacher's healing chi keeps her conscious, so Principal Wu orders the victim taken to the infirmary before addressing everyone personally. He postpones both the assembly and stage examinations indefinitely, shocking students awaiting their crucial results, and their anxious questions swell until Wu Defa commands the entire crowd to silence. The principal reveals that Yama's order members have entered Wuji City and are already moving, then forbids unsupervised departures, heroics, or panic while class representatives organize safe zone evacuations. Students recognize the ruthless cult immediately and scramble away, terrified by its lethal reputation, while their panic spreads through campus over an organization notorious for pursuing goals without mercy. Caught within the evacuation crowd, Su Li wonders whether Yama's order has targeted their school, when a hand suddenly grabs his wrist and pulls him away from the frightened students, making him turn in surprise toward the person who interrupted his anxious speculation, only to find Luoshin smiling confidently and carrying a rolled mission notice. The class monitor drags him aside, promising information directly relevant to his approaching university examination, then declares this dangerous crisis could become the opportunity Su Li desperately needs. She explains Yama's order is targeting their school and Wuji City already issued a capture mission. The citywide notice offers 100,000 gold, while capturing them could earn a university exception, but how did she know? Luoshin admits her law enforcement parents warned her about Yama's order and told her to remain safe, then promises to recruit several helpers rather than send Su Li hunting professional killers alone. She suggests splitting the reward while his captured enemies secure a path into Wudao University, leaning close enough during the sales pitch to leave both classmates blushing awkwardly. Still, Sulich rejects the suicide mission and chooses returning safely to his hostel instead, which sends Luoshin stomping after him. Furious that her brilliant plan earned immediate rejection, Elsewhere, a breathless student finds Sun Huide and reports something terrible happened during the evacuation, claiming Zhou Tao fought Su Li, broke several bones, and now keeps coughing blood. Sun immediately demands directions to the infirmary, dragging the nervous messenger along as his guide, while privately wondering how a supposed chi refiner defeated third-level Foundation establishment so decisively. He activates a fast movement technique, wrapping himself in green currents before taking off, and the terrified student gets swept along for one wildly uncomfortable high-speed ride. Meanwhile, inside the third-year male hostel, Yama's order finally reveals its true mission: kill examiner Huang Haopo within 24 hours, with 5 identified cult members assigned. The criminals hide there while their strongest fighters prepare to overpower teachers and intercept the examiner, and their leader warns that another escape will bring severe punishment for whoever fails. With roles settled, the 5 cultists separate through the hostel to begin their operation. Su Li is relaxing nearby when his forgotten cultivation forum post finally receives a comment. Excited, he opens the reply and finds someone finally willing to examine his impossible situation. Meng Hui from Wudao University says 10,000 level chi refining cannot exist, but Su Li insists it does. Meng Hui explains that level 10 normally forces an automatic foundation establishment breakthrough after meeting every prerequisite, so reaching 10,000 would make Su Li a gigantic vessel capable of storing seemingly limitless chi. For one glorious moment he imagines being unstoppable, until Meng recommends replacing the obviously malfunctioning device, then dismisses the entire exchange as another confused high schooler's nonsense while sipping his drink. Feeling completely unbelieved, Su Li leaves room 521 and steps into the deserted hostel corridor, where missing security and suspicious silence convince him that heading toward the safe zone is smarter. Before he gets far, Su Li encounters Wang He lurking alone in Kaiyuan's school uniform, and the cultist wonders why anyone remained inside a hostel supposedly cleared of students. Neither recognizes the other immediately, leaving both men silently suspicious about this unexpected hallway meeting. But Wang He trusts his disguise while Su Li criticizes the sloppy uniform like an annoyed prefect. Only after the student passes does the intruder remember his exposed Yama's order neck tattoo. So he calls Su Li back and bluntly asks whether that dangerous mark was noticed. Su Li confirms the obvious, privately wondering how anyone could mistake him for being blind, and the irritated cultist drops his disguise, deciding the witness now knows far too much. Red killing energy erupts around Wang He as he lunges forward to eliminate Su Li, mocking the apparent chi refiner for choosing the worst possible enemy inside this empty corridor. That familiar tattoo finally connects with Luoxin's wanted notice. This attacker belongs to Yama's order, but the realization arrives as Wang He compresses a blazing red sphere over his fist. The cultist dives downward with a savage punch, flooding the hallway with violent crimson pressure, and Su Li braces as their eyes lock moments before the concentrated attack detonates between them. Wang He's first strike tears open the wall, but Su Li narrowly avoids being crushed, and the 9th level Foundation fighter instantly follows, forcing Su Li to gather defensive chi. Blue power rises through 100 levels as the second red assault closes rapidly, then surges past 1,000, revealing how much energy the supposed beginner can actually command. At 10,000 levels, Su Li's unleashed chi stops Wang He's momentum with overwhelming force, and the violent rebound sends the cultist skidding backward while blue flames engulf the corridor. Shaken, Wang He questions whether this absurdly powerful student truly belongs in chi refining, because even a golden core warrior he previously encountered possessed far less spiritual energy. Furious at being tested, the cultist tears away his uniform and stops holding back, channeling his rage into the lion meteor fist as a red beast-shaped aura erupts. He launches the killing blow from above, leaving Su Li no time except to defend head-on, and their fists collide, smashing crimson force against the student's concentrated blue barrier. Instead of breaking, the blue energy begins swallowing Wang He's attack and spreading through it, leaving his body immobilized as Su Li absorbs the spiritual chi driving that technique. Behind the quiet student, the cultist senses an endless ocean of power deeper than imagination. Before Su Li redirects the gathered energy and drives one compact counterpunch forward, the blue-infused blow folds Wang He around Su Li's fist, completely shattering his attack posture, then launches the stunned criminal vertically through the ceiling like an extremely unfortunate rocket. Silence returns beneath drifting smoke as Su Li stares upward, surprised by his own result, until his eyes suddenly widen at something he notices somewhere beyond the smoke. Looking through the broken wall, Su Li finds Wang He slumped motionless and wonders whether he died, then panics over how one counterpunch could possibly end a 9th level Foundation cultivator so abruptly. That result feels completely wrong, even considering the ridiculous depth of his own chi, because defeating an entire realm above him should not have been remotely possible at all. Unless Meng Hui was right and 10,000 refined layers provide an almost bottomless spiritual reserve. Still denying the obvious power gap, he blames Wang He's abnormal frenzy or a dangerous boosting drug, then happily decides the criminal probably suffered a heart attack and he simply got lucky. Even so, leaving the body exposed could alert accomplices and create far worse trouble, so our guide drags Wang He away before seeking Sun Huide for sensible adult guidance. Meanwhile, Sun Huide races back toward the school building on a stream of blue-green chi, touching down near the damaged courtyard after following the nervous student's report at at full speed, where he finds Zhou Dao injured beneath a cracked wall and surrounded by anxious classmates. The scale of the damage makes Sun question what cultivation base produced such force, before the teacher calmly reaches into his pocket to provide the wounded student immediate medical help and feeds Zhou Dao a restorative pill to stabilize him enough for questioning. Once the pain eases, Sun asks the battered rival to explain exactly what happened, but Zhou claims Su turned a friendly spar into a deadly surprise attack that launched him away. Sun doubts that story, since one realm and 4 levels separate the two students, while Zhou's friends blame spirit tools and demand punishment, unaware their teacher recognizes the scheme, so he sends them toward the safe zone with Zhou and quietly investigates alone. As Zhou Dao's group hurries away, Sun Huade studies the wreckage and wonders what truly happened. When 2 armed patrol officers arrive, their official armbands confirming the mission's serious escalation, Sun dismisses the damage as nothing more than students taking an ordinary duel too far. However, the female officer reports Principal Wu upgraded the mission to level A, with every cultist extremely dangerous. Such missions barely appeared over 2 years, convincing Sun that Yama's order came thoroughly prepared. Inside the surveillance room, he reviews Zhou's irrational behavior while an unseen intruder stalks above. Then footage reveals raw spiritual chi launching a 3rd-level foundation student straight across the courtyard, suggesting the rare phenomenon known as a battle of surpassing one's limits to the stunned teacher. That feat unleashes every drop of chi at once, briefly allowing victory against a stronger opponent. Yet Sun senses the kid possesses no martial ceiling and deserves a path into martial university. Before that plan develops, Shin Kuang drops from the ceiling with crackling orange energy, but a dagger's reflection flashes across the monitor, instantly warning the focused teacher, and the disguised cultist plunges downward, aiming the blade directly at his head. Sun twists aside and raises spiraling green chi, catching the ambusher completely by surprise. Their powers collide overhead, and the teacher's defense snaps the attacking dagger cleanly apart. The broken steel tumbles away while Xin lands hard and immediately regains his footing, amused. He admits he only wanted surveillance information but instead found an unexpectedly sturdy obstacle. At close range, the serpent tattoo on Xin's neck gives his hidden allegiance away. So the teacher identifies Yama's order beneath the stolen student uniform and calls him out. Now exposed, Shin Kuang abandons restraint and charges with lethal electricity roaring around him. Sun Huide plants his feet and surrounds himself with rotating green shields of concentrated chi, letting Shin Kuang's lightning-fast punches crash uselessly against barrier after barrier from every angle. Even a point-blank electrified palm meets the teacher's perfectly timed defense without touching him. Furious, the cultist mocks his tortoise tactics and barrels forward with another charged fist. Sun answers by stopping that explosive punch with only 2 fingers, instantly rattling his attacker. Then a bright green sphere gathers inside his palm and erupts into a focused beam, catching Jin head-on and carrying his helpless body across the surveillance room at terrifying speed, before smashing the injured infiltrator straight through a reinforced wall in one overwhelming hit. Pinned inside the crater, Sin admits this unassuming bald teacher is simply too strong to defeat. With no winning move left, he discreetly pulls a pair of black escape pellets, and Sun immediately senses another trick as his defensive currents tighten around him. The battered cultist promises revenge next time while hurling the pellets toward the ceiling. Explosions flood the room with smoke, giving Sin the opening he needs to escape. Unable to pursue blindly, Sun resolves to report Yamza's order infiltration as quickly as possible. Outside the hostel, shattered debris and fading blue-green energy mark the violent breakout. Elsewhere inside, Ma Zhixiang and Liang Yangui wonder why Wang He never returned. Liang jokingly suggests their powerful companion might have been discovered and already eliminated. Ma rejects that possibility because Wang is a 9th-level foundation expert, hardly someone defeated so easily, so he leaves their temporary hiding room and goes to search for him, while the calm poison user watches behind dark glasses and clicks his tongue in annoyance. Ma Zhixiang mocks Liang's golden core status, insisting he and Wang will soon catch up, and his resentment still lingers as he stalks alone through the hostile corridors, until something disturbing ahead catches his eye and instantly freezes that bitter expression. Because Su Li is calmly dragging Wang He's battered body by the hair, the horrifying sight confirms Wang is dead and sends genuine panic through the searcher. Ma assumes the student wants their companion's bounty, which could expose the entire infiltration, but direct revenge looks suicidal after this kid single-handedly crushed a 9th-level foundation fighter, leaving the nervous cultist sweating behind his sunglasses while searching for a safer answer. Cornered, he reaches beneath his uniform and draws a compact weapon glowing with red chi, then feeds power into its white frame until fiery cracks spread across the weapon. Alma once explained this experimental Yama gun compresses its user's chi into one lethal shot, capable of killing several levels upward, meaning Ma's peak foundation power could threaten Golden Core. Confidence returns as he aims down the hallway and promises to blast the unsuspecting target apart, before squeezing the trigger and releasing all that power in one violent crimson flash. The enormous energy spike instantly alerts Sun, Luoshin, and nearby patrol officers, while the concentrated B-beam tears through the hostile corridor toward the hooded student. Certain his secret weapon guarantees victory, Ma grins viciously as the shot closes in, yet the beam only punches through Su's hood, leaving a scorched hole without touching him. Smoke curls from the torn fabric while the unharmed target pauses in complete confusion, and our guy glances over his shoulder, genuinely wondering what just happened behind him. Behind the baffled student, the spent chi shot smolders inside a cratered floor tile, so Su crouches beside Wang He's corpse and examines the strange projectile that nearly struck him. He lifts the tiny fragment, dismissing the terrifying attack as some random piece of metal. Outside, Principal Wu asks whether Sun sensed the same chi fluctuation and suspects another Yama operative. Sun confirms one attacked him inside the school and warns that several cultists have already infiltrated. Before they can organize a response, the principal suddenly notices movement nearby inside the bushes. A hidden figure rustles through dense shrubs, drawing every officer's attention toward the trees. Wu raises a hand charged with golden power and demands the intruder identify themselves. To everyone's surprise, Luoshin emerges with a leaf on her head and greets them politely. She explains that she came searching for Su because his disappearance during the crisis worried her. Learning the boy entered the hostel sends Sun rushing forward, convinced those enemies completely outclass him. But the principal warns that the recent chi signature belongs to at least Golden Core. Still, Sun insists that protecting his endangered student matters more than any personal risk, because he imagines even Su's shocking strength becoming helpless against a Golden Core monster. Then Principal Wu clears his throat, stopping the anxious teacher before he can charge off alone, and firmly extends one gloved hand across Sun's path, signaling a different plan. As school principal, he refuses to watch from safety while others face danger, so golden flames coil around his wrist as he claims the frontline position. The male patrol officer immediately draws both batons while Wu orders everyone behind him, and his female partner readies her weapon, warning the group to remain constantly alert. Principal Wu leads the armed rescue team forward, with Sun, Luo, and both officers close behind. Back inside, Ma's legs tremble from spending his chi while the mist shot still smokes nearby. Across the hallway, Su spots the hidden gunman while holding the recovered metal fragment. Seeing the glowing firearm, he finally realizes this stranger deliberately tried to kill him. Ma desperately orders his exhausted body to flee, but the weapon has drained him completely, and his imagination supplies a terrifying punishment once the seemingly invincible student reaches him. Unfortunately, Su mistakes those shaking legs for another arrogant taunt telling him to run away, so the offended powerhouse clenches the fragment and decides to return that favor immediately. He refuses to accept ridicule quietly, even if this distant opponent might somehow be stronger, then wraps the tiny metal piece in blue key, planning a distraction before closing in. With an almost casual swing, our guy hurls the energized fragment and tells Ma to catch it. The makeshift projectile becomes a piercing blue streak that rips straight down the corridor, while the terrified cultist discovers his key-starved body cannot dodge even one step. One clean impact drops Ma instantly, sending his sunglasses spinning across the blood-marked floor. Su stares at his own hand and wonders whether he secretly possesses incredible throwing talent. Now facing two dead infiltrators, he complains that disposing of everything has become even more troublesome. Then the abandoned chi gun crackles beside Ma's body, drawing his attention with fiery energy. The curious student walks past both fallen enemies and approaches the unfamiliar weapon. Before his shadow falls across its glowing frame and one hand reaches down, impressed by the strange device, Su claims it for possible use in some future emergency. As Su admires his new weapon, Liang Yangui secretly watches from behind a nearby corner and realizes this unassuming kid somehow eliminated both Wang He and Ma Ji-xiang. A direct attack means certain death, yet failing the mission promises equally brutal consequences. Before Liang can attempt an ambush, Wu's rescue team shouts from the stairwell above. Sensing Golden Core power among them, the poison user immediately abandons his sneak attack and retreats. He races upstairs just before the approaching principal and officers reach the landing. Meanwhile, Su hears Wu calling and worries the captured gun makes him resemble a cultist. Then inspiration strikes, giving the nervous student a ridiculous way to fake the entire scene. He hurriedly drags Ma's body over beside Wang's while the footsteps grow louder, and arranges their limbs to suggest both infiltrators killed each other during an internal fight. The finished display becomes an absurd mutual punch tableau, complete with Ma's discarded sunglasses. Just then, the rescue party rushes around the corner and catches Su beside everything. Principal Wu recognizes the student and demands an explanation for this impossible hallway scene. Caught beside two posed corpses, our guy can only offer an incredibly awkward laugh. Elsewhere, a window suddenly shatters high above the exterior of the hostel building, as Liang dives through the broken glass and lands safely against the outer wall. The escaping Golden Core cultivator glances back with an irritated snort. Already preparing retaliation, purple tendrils spiral from his hand and expand across the building like predatory vines. Calling the technique art of spatial connection, Liang feeds more sinister energy into it. The tendrils snake through walls toward everyone inside while a demonic core anchors their spread. Liang's technique opens a violet spatial portal linked to a blood-covered cavern where enormous beasts wait. The circular gateway widens inside the hostel, framing jaws and claws against the ordinary corridor. A colossal reptilian monster begins forcing itself through, transforming the stairwell into a demonic passage. Then a gigantic red eye opens beyond the portal and fixes upon the building. Unaware of that threat, Sue asks why everyone came and privately fears being mistaken for an accomplice. While his carefully posed bodies remain locked together in their ridiculous final struggle, Principal Wu steps closer and directly asks the student what exactly happened there. Sue freezes beneath that question, sweat forming as every possible excuse suddenly disappears. The principal studies him in tense silence, refusing to accept the tableau at face value. Golden aura threads suddenly explode around Wu and sweep across the entire scene. Believing he is under attack, Sue shields his face and insists this is only a misunderstanding, but one luminous strand merely brushes past his eye without causing any harm. Relieved, he realizes the principal is using aura threads for investigation rather than punishment. Those threads confirm Sue remains in chi refining, so Wu suspects someone else killed both cultists. The principal exhales thoughtfully as the golden strands continue mapping every trace of energy. He orders the student to stand back, promising to handle this potentially dangerous matter himself. Wu then focuses his aura threads through Wang's body, reading its cultivation and fatal damage. The scan identifies a Peak Foundation expert killed in one blow, leaving the principal deeply alarmed. Examining the corpse more closely, he notes that its body has not undergone reformation. Yet the heavily conditioned physique shows evidence of frequent brutal training and punishment. Purple staining along Wang's nerves reveals long-term enhancement drug abuse. Letting Wu diagnose fatal aura backlash, Ma's skull, however, was pierced by one projectile from someone far beyond chi refining. A Yama tattoo beneath his collar confirms both dead men belong to the cult. That evidence makes the principal quietly reconsider what truly happened without accusing the nervous student. He plants his golden sword beside the bodies, securing the area before a detailed search, then rolls up his sleeves and checks both infiltrators for clues explaining Yama's presence. Recovery, reformation, and godly aura pills emerge. But Wu dismisses everyone as useless. Sue immediately asks to keep those supposedly worthless pills, arguing they might help him later. While searching Wang's clothing, the principal discovers a small black cube glowing along red seams. He identifies a sealing cube whose creator alone knows the combination and whose material resists force. Unable to open it, Wu tosses the cube towards Sun for later laboratory analysis. The handoff goes wrong when the heavy object slips past the teacher's reaching hands. Instead, it bounces sharply across the tile instead of landing safely in his palm. Still glowing, the supposedly indestructible container then rolls directly towards Sue's nearby shoe. The student looks down just as the mysterious cube reaches the edge of his foot. One accidental tap makes the entire ceiling shell explode into fragments around his sneaker. Everyone stares in stunned silence while Wu suspects the immense aura inside Sue caused it. Embarrassed, our guy insists. The box struck him by itself and denies deliberately breaking anything. Among the shattered casing, he notices a tiny electronic component with a pulsing red light. Sue lifts the device and excitedly informs the principal they uncovered a hidden communicator. Before Sue can inspect it further, Wu smoothly takes the communicator from between his fingers. The principal calls its inscription manageable and channels golden chi through the circuitry to decode it. Its indicator turns green, confirming that the hidden recording has finally opened for everyone. A hooded hologram orders two assassins to distract Wang Haopo while the others destroy the aura-gathering tower. After demanding total success, the secret transmission abruptly ends and leaves the hallway silent. Wu realizes Yama always intended to destroy the tower instead of merely assassinating the examiner, meaning Wang and Ma were disposable pieces planted solely to occupy defenders inside the school. Destroying that tower would depower 60% of campus and detonate stored chi with atomic-scale force. The surrounding energy structures are shown chained around a vast concentration floating above Wuji City, revealing the cult's actual target was never one examiner, but the entire city. Sue raises a hand and asks why disposable agents carried such critically important intelligence. Luo suspects deliberate misinformation, yet Wu insists the tower must be protected regardless, because one false assumption could let Yama erase the nation's most promising young martial artists. The principal then erupts with overwhelming golden aura, stunning Sue with his true martial presence. Wu pockets the recovered communicator and prepares to send an urgent warning through his own device. But the message fails, revealing that every signal around the school has been completely blocked. Sue checks his phone and confirms the ordinary network is now equally dead. Luo and both patrol officers report the same outage, proving the isolation covers everyone. Wu orders the group to split up and physically deliver the warning without delay. Meanwhile, Liang races through the stairwell and suddenly reacts to the approaching footsteps. At the stairwell, Wu, Sun, and the students find the basement route replaced by a swirling cosmic void, and Sue casually steps closer to test the bizarre distortion before anyone understands it. The principal yanks him back, warning that Yama likely created this trap to isolate everyone, then orders the group to abandon the vanished staircase and search for another exit. They hurry away while the starry abyss continues consuming the landing behind them in silence. Within that warped space, concentric rings pulse ominously as something begins forcing its way through. An armored reptilian beast emerges crackling with blue lightning, while larger red eyes watch behind it. Farther along the corridor, the group runs until Luo suddenly notices another impossible change. The two cultist corpses are gone, leaving only pale energy outlines across the floor. Wu kneels beside the empty marks and gathers a pinch of strange gray residue. Finding dust but no blood, he concludes the bodies were never simply removed. Instead, the principal realizes their entire group has somehow shifted onto a different floor. That makes no sense to Sue and Luo because everyone retraced the exact same route. The pair exchange uneasy looks as the silent hallway stretches suspiciously around them. Then both students suddenly understand the real problem and spin toward their companions. Principal Wu and Sun Huide have vanished, leaving the two teenagers completely alone. Refusing another separation, Sue immediately grabs Luo's hand and surprises her into a bright blush. He explains they must stay together now, since their strongest protectors disappeared without warning. The flustered class monitor hides her excitement behind a shy smile and accepts his logic. She softly agrees and interlaces their fingers, unaware a horned purple creature is rising behind them. The purple hunter's single blue eye narrows as it silently locks onto the unsuspecting students. Then its enormous jaws open directly behind them while they keep walking hand in hand. Luo's smile vanishes when Sue senses the killing intent and snaps his glowing gaze backward. He sweeps her into his arms and vaults aside, narrowly dodging the monster's lunging bite. The beast whips around, meeting Sue's fierce stare as both sides measure the next move. Knowing Luo cannot fight this creature, he grabs her again and sprints down the hallway. Sue spots an open utility room ahead and shouts for them to escape through it, dragging the class monitor inside moments before their armored pursuer can catch them. He orders her to block the entrance, and both immediately grab whatever heavy objects remain. Sue hoists a bulky cabinet alone and races it toward the doorway without slowing. Together they slam furniture against the door just as the monster crashes into the barrier. They reinforce the barricade with additional cabinets until the violent impacts finally grow quiet. Collapsing behind their makeshift wall, Luo realizes Sue still has not released her hand, and her fingers instinctively tighten around his, turning the dangerous pause unexpectedly intimate, completely missing her embarrassment. He simply asks whether she survived the chase unharmed. She turns away blushing and insists nothing is wrong, unwilling to explain her real concern. Before either can relax, a strange scratching noise draws both students' attention overhead, where an ordinary ventilation grate suddenly becomes the room's most threatening feature of all. Two bright blue eyes ignite behind the bars, proving the monster found another route, and its massive armored head fills the duct while the trapped pair stand directly below. Without warning, the beast smashes through the ceiling grate and drops straight into their hiding place, roaring as it charges through falling metal and debris toward the terrified class monitor. Luo clings to Sue for protection, leaving him only seconds to counter the incoming jaws. Then he remembers the experimental chi gun collected from Maji Xiang and draws their last option. Although he barely understands the weapon, enormous orange flames coil around it the moment he aims. A blazing dragon-shaped blast erupts from the muzzle and engulfs the diving creature at point-blank range. Sue keeps the trigger pressed as violent red energy surges through his hands in the room, smashing directly into the monster's open mouth before it can close those massive teeth. The fiery current wraps around beast and students alike, but he shields Luo through the eruption, and the scorched monster finally crashes down, leaving its surprised killer wondering whether that actually worked. Luo asks where he found such a weapon, and he admits taking it from Yama, having completely forgotten to hand it over when the principal arrived to investigate earlier. With the immediate danger dead, she studies its smoking armored corpse and finds it terrifying, especially those fixed razor horns, blade-shaped forelimbs, and lethal plates covering its entire body. Her field guide identifies it as a skinhorn dragon, an agile battlefield predator that hunts in packs. Sue is stunned that a frontline beast appeared here, while Luo notes only one attacked, meaning another 5, 10, or perhaps even more dragons could still be prowling nearby. A fresh shadow passes outside their damaged room, confirming the supposed loner definitely had company. The pair quietly prepare to slip away whenever one dragon separates from the surrounding pack, and Sue reassures Luo that finding the summoning method could restore the hostile and free everyone. Bolstered by his first kill, Sue promises Luo he will never let Yama's scheme succeed. While outside Kaiyuan High, Xinquang meets Liang Yangui and asks about progress. The wounded cultist reports Wang He and Ma Jixiang dead, immediately darkening Liang's expression, who recoils in disbelief and demands to know how two experienced operatives were eliminated. Sin explains they encountered one isolated student, grew careless, and catastrophically underestimated their opponent. Liang imagines the hooded teen surrounded by impossibly dense blue aura and hopes never to meet him. Sin studies his companion's worried silence. Realizing their failure threatens more than the current operation, Liang proposes informing squad leader Ao Ma, but the redhead desperately refuses that suicidal option, because their ruthless commander would torture both men if he learned they failed this mission. A calculating smile crosses Liang's face as he suddenly sees a way to hide everything. He has already trapped the strongest principal and troublesome student inside the hostel, buying them time, then conjures a small mechanical cube within curling purple energy to coordinate his next move. A holographic model of the school rises above his palm, and the villains resume their operation. Back inside, another skinhorn dragon races down the second-floor corridor beside Sue's hiding place. The teenager carefully watches it pass, waits for the perfect opening, and signals Luo to prepare, then throws open the door and orders her to move before the pack circles back. They sprint together while Su fires the blazing key gun down the corridor behind them, drawing one armored predator's startled attention before it can close the distance on them. The beam detonates against a pursuing dragon, blasting it aside while another beast recoils in surprise. Liang's map reveals Wu and Sun trapped on floor 8, while Su and Luo circle floor 2. On floor 8, Wu and Sun keep searching every room, determined to locate both missing students, but opening the next door reveals creatures the trapped occupants could never defend against. Several skin-horn dragons glare through the narrow gap, packed tightly inside with their prey. Golden and teal chi ignite around both rescuers. As beasts and cultivators prepare to clash, the principal surges forward in a storm of golden power, driving the front dragons backward, ordering Sun to pull one enemy away while he handles the creature directly ahead. Wu narrows his eyes and condenses the swirling aura around one clenched hand. The dormant strength he has neglected during peaceful school years finally roars back into motion. Just as the armored predator opens its mouth and lunges straight toward his throat, he answers with a golden uppercut, smashing the dragon's jaw and launching its head sideways. The strike hurls the beast through debris while golden currents whip violently around the hallway. And Sun traps another dragon with glowing teal chains, completely stopping its charge. Wu admits school life left him rusty, then cracks his knuckles for more exercise. Meanwhile, a terrified male student warns an approaching monster not to come any closer, desperately aiming a wooden slingshot while threatening to hit the battlefield predator before him. The dragon springs at him anyway, reducing his brave warning to a panic scream, and the flimsy weapon snaps instantly as its owner collapses and shields his face, begging anyone nearby to save him while enormous teeth close around his hiding place. A giant shadow crashes across the wall, but the cowering student remains untouched beneath it, until a calm rescuer tells him to stand because the danger has finally passed. The rescued student recognizes Su as his senior and tearfully calls out while Luo checks him. Grateful beyond words, he thanks his idol for saving him. Though Su cannot remember their meeting, the boy explains that Su represented the students at enrollment, delivering a speech that inspired him. After accepting that awkward praise, Su asks why his admirer ignored the evacuation order. The embarrassed survivor admits he overslept, then encountered a monster while trying to join everyone else. So the pair invite him along but firmly warn him never to fall behind again. Now traveling as three, they cautiously peer around a stairwell corner before advancing, and discover a shimmering blue portal suspended across the hallway like a fractured window. The bizarre sight shocks all three, but its other side reveals something far worse. An enormous shadowy chamber where countless skin-horn dragons lie piled together beneath a red moon. Su orders his companions to remain outside while he scouts, telling them to flee immediately if danger appears, then hands Luo the chi gun for protection, and she urges him to return safely. He crosses alone and tiptoes among the sleeping monsters, moving toward the portal's source, silently praying that none of the massive creatures suddenly wakes before he finishes. The teenager concludes destroying this teleportation gate should banish the dragons and restore the hostel, but a gigantic red eye opens behind him before he can touch the mechanism, followed by a colossal black claw descending through crimson energy directly toward his body. The sudden strike catches him off guard and tears him away from the gate, as a towering red-black dragon crashes down, shattering the ground beneath its overwhelming weight, leaving Su sprawled among broken stone and staring upward at the beast with grim determination. The Guardian lifts its armored head and releases a thunderous roar directly at the fallen intruder, while outside the portal, Luo and her companion tense around the glowing weapon without hearing anything. Inside, Su recovers from the first impact as sleeping dragons remain strangely undisturbed nearby, revealing that the teleportation barrier blocks sound and gives him room to fight freely. He gathers spiraling blue chi around his fist, determined to finish before the entire nest wakes. Then rockets forward with enough speed to leave luminous trails, tearing across the chamber. The Guardian meets his charge head-on, opening its jaws and flooding the battlefield with crimson pressure. Yet Su drives his condensed fist directly into its armored face without hesitating, only to discover his blue aura disperses instantly wherever it touches the creature's shell, before a brutal counterattack launches him across the chamber and into solid stone. Watching through the portal, Luo fears even her impossible classmate cannot defeat this dragon. As Su remains embedded in a cracked wall, bruised but still conscious after the impact, she forces herself to think calmly and recognizes his chi merely tickles the Guardian's armor. So the class monitor aims the experimental gun and unleashes its concentrated orange power, sending multiple blazing shots into the dragon's chest and shoulder plates from outside. But the smoke clears without visible damage, proving even Ma's weapon cannot pierce it. Luo freezes in disbelief when the enormous target barely reacts to her strongest available attack, and Su urgently shouts for her to run before the Guardian turns toward the portal. The dragon bursts through after them, chasing Luo and the terrified student up the stairs, until an unexpected pair of hands grabs its massive foreleg and desperately slows the pursuit. The delayed Guardian still reaches Luo, bringing its fangs within inches of her terrified face. But it suddenly freezes when a far greater force pulls hard against its captured leg. Su has returned blazing with blue energy, declaring that the monster's real opponent stands behind it. Bloodied but furious, he unleashes deeper power until brilliant currents engulf his entire body, and promises to send the stubborn invader straight back through the gate it crossed. His explosive strike lifts the colossal guardian and sweeps it backward on a massive blue arc, dumping it into the nest where startled skinhorn dragons scatter beneath their returning leader. The entire pack looks upward as the circular passage begins pulling closed above them, while Su concentrates another dense sphere of blue chi around his clenched fist, then drives that power into the gate, ordering every monster to stay on its own side. Brilliant cracks race across the portal's surface as the spatial connection finally destabilizes, revealing the battered teenager through its shattered center moments before the opening collapses. He offers the red-black guardian a cheeky farewell, while clearly hoping they never meet again, and the fractured gateway shrinks into nothing, sealing the furious dragon inside its home dimension. The stranded beast lowers its head in ominous silence as crimson pressure gathers around its armor, before roaring beneath the red moon, furious that a human forcefully expelled it. Outside at Kaiyuan High's stadium, floating crystals and islands reveal another distorted battlefield taking shape, where Liang kneels beside a control device and promises someone will soon taste its power, but an unexpected voice asks which class he belongs to, instantly freezing the disguised cultist, and he cautiously turns his head toward the person who somehow approached unnoticed. The newcomers are teachers Chung Feng and Chung Lu, who order the supposed student towards safety, but Liang resents their interruption, wishing they had waited until his stadium preparations were finished. One teacher spots the serpent tattoo exposed beneath Liang's collar, and instantly understands the threat, then warns his partner that Yama has infiltrated the stadium and reaches for reinforcements. Liang attacks first, whipping crimson energy across the field before either man can report him, and surrounds himself with black flame fists formed by rapidly swinging aura through unstable space, mocking both teachers as mere Foundation establishment brats before charging straight at them. Yet the two instructors split apart with matching footwork, calmly avoiding his initial rush. Blue aura circles their outstretched hands as they prepare an unfamiliar synchronized counterattack. They connect their energy into one brilliant sphere, perfectly balancing both streams between them, then hurl the combined technique at Liang while warning each other about his counterstrike. The cultist recognizes their rare dual cultivating physique only after the attack is already moving, a special martial body letting two fighters merge chi and temporarily multiply their power. Their blue sphere overwhelms his red flames and hurls Liang backward across the stadium floor, where he realizes spatial manipulation and black flame already drained nearly all his remaining chi. The teachers burst through the smoke together, slamming their coordinated power into the weakened golden core, then separate into crossing attack paths before Liang can recover his footing or target either. One sweeps around his flank while the other closes from ahead, trapping him between strikes. Their first blow crashes against his raised arm and forces the exhausted cultist to grimace, but both instructors keep advancing in perfect rhythm, ready to finish their wounded opponent. Chung Feng and Chung Lu continue their combo, one grabbing Liang while his partner attacks from behind, and a sweeping blue kick smashes the depleted golden core sideways before he can escape. While Chung Feng packs another spiraling surge of shared chi tightly around his clenched fist, he admits their enhanced state is almost finished, then commits everything to one decisive punch, making Liang panic as the synchronized teachers prepare to end their golden core opponent, when a towering blonde powerhouse suddenly crashes down between them and blasts everyone apart. Liang recognizes the scarred newcomer, whose oppressive presence immediately silences the battered stadium fighters, but Chung Feng recovers and warns that another Yama enemy has joined the battle, while Chung Lu raises blue chi again, insisting they only need defeat one more attacker. Their new opponent merely smacks his lips, completely unimpressed by the teacher's exhausted resolve, then swings a blazing golden arm blade directly toward Chung Lu as Chung Feng rushes in, and the scarred monster's attack splits their formation before either teacher can protect the other. Blood sprays across Chung Feng's glasses as he desperately reaches toward his wounded partner, yet he gathers another blue sphere and charges forward anyway, ready to risk his life, only for the blonde warrior to answer with a ruthless golden slash through Chung Feng's torso. The injured teacher screams as the blow tears through him and sends his glasses flying, while the shaken Liang identifies his savior as Yama squad leader Ao Ma, a virtuoso phase pinnacle cultivator whose overwhelming entrance has instantly reversed the stadium battle. Meanwhile, purple spatial distortions around Kaiyuan High's dormitory finally collapse and release the trapped building, leaving Su, Luo Xin, and their rescued schoolmates sprawled safely together as reality returns. Principal Wu's phone signal suddenly returns, proving the strange aura and communications blockade of both disappeared, and he realizes the hostile trap delayed him while Yama could advance its larger operation. Standing amid dragon wreckage, Wu orders every teaching shift summoned to defend the aura-gathering tower, whose towering core crackles with massive blue currents above the surrounding city buildings. Armed instructors quickly assemble around the tower on flying swords, forming an aerial defensive perimeter, as senior teacher Lu Cheng confirms everyone received the principal's urgent protection order, and teacher Yuan Zhen vows no Yama attacker will leave the battlefield alive. Lu Cheng then asks Chen Ying whether she successfully contacted the remaining school instructors, who reports Wu and Sun together, two teachers patrolling, and two others still unreachable back at the stadium. Furious, Aoma chokes Liang for losing against two Foundation establishment teachers, while Liang insists a chi-refining student unexpectedly killed Wang He and Ma Ji-xiang. But the squad leader refuses that impossible excuse and tightens his crushing grip. Dangling above the floor, the terrified Golden Corps begs his commander for another chance, then reveals their bombs are already deployed and only the aura gathering tower remains. Aoma immediately decides his battered subordinate may still be useful to the mission and snatches the compact control device from Liang's trembling hand without another warning. After projecting the tower's holographic map, he orders Liang to destroy it and redeem himself, then watches with a satisfied smirk. Certain fear has restored his servant's obedience. Yet Liang suddenly clasps both hands around Aoma's wrist, startling the confident squad leader before pressing close against his commander, whose puzzled expression betrays complete confusion at this desperate gesture. Aoma leans close and orders Liang to plant the final bomb, even if it kills him, forcing the terrified Golden Corps to accept while his commander's murderous shadow looms behind him, and the squad leader grins, pleased that fear has secured absolute obedience again, as a web of crimson command seals burns across Liang's body and locks the order in place. Back near the restored boys' dormitory, Su reunites with Principal Wu and Teacher Sun, explaining Luo Xin escorted their rescued student to safety while he stayed behind to report, then proudly reveals they found and destroyed a teleportation gate, restoring the entire building, which lets Wu identify spatial connection art as the source of every summoned battlefield monster. With the tower threatened, Wu praises the student before departing alongside Sun Huidig, leaving him to sprint toward the safe zone and avoid any more Yama encounters. When a watcher suddenly catches Wang He's lingering aura on the unsuspecting chi-refining cultivator, the red-haired survivor secretly trails his target across campus, now suspecting Liang told the truth, then leaps from hiding and lands behind Su, who instantly senses the hostile arrival, forcing the running student to stop and demand that his unseen pursuer identify himself, before Xin Kuang openly confronts him and demands why Wang He's aura clings to his body. Su privately wonders whether Xin is part dog, then struggles to remember which victim was Wang He, while the cultist presses his palms together and begins channeling a dangerous technique, roaring that Wang and Ma only died through carelessness before unleashing his full power. A gigantic orange eruption swallows the courtyard as Sin vows to kill the brat who ruined Yama's plans, leaving Su trapped inside a fiery vortex where blazing currents completely erase his vision. Inside the vortex, Su discovers countless aura droplets pin him like solid walls and prevent movement, while Sin explains every cultivator carries a unique scent shaped by training methods and habits. Remembering Wang He's sweaty body training, the red-haired hunter confidently follows that odor through his technique, closing through the orange haze as his trapped opponent braces for another unseen strike, before Xin locates him exactly and dives downward with a delighted cry of triumph, smashing Su into the pavement with a brutal descending blow that cracks the ground beneath them. Blood runs across the student's face, and he curses being helplessly battered inside someone else's field, especially when the invisible hunter lands another precise hit and leaves him clutching his wounded head. While Sin grins from concealment, certain the scent trail makes continued attacks unavoidable, then strikes again with a blazing orange sweep before Su can recover his balance. The impact hurls him through the vortex, but the beating finally sparks a counterplan, because the cultist's own explanation reveals that scent, not eyesight, guides every hidden attack, and the campus is filled with blooming osmanthus trees whose fragrance already saturates the air. Su smirks through the pain and forms a deliberate hand seal, finally ready to answer, then commands his chi to absorb the surrounding blossoms, pulling petals and fragrance into a blue cyclone, whose sweet scent cuts across Sin's orange currents and instantly ruins his supernatural tracking, as blue streams carry osmanthus perfume throughout the battlefield and erase the remaining odor trail. Surrounded by petals, the battered powerhouse challenges Jin to find him now without that borrowed advantage, and the alarmed cultist charges through the shifting currents, desperately searching for any trace, while Su crosses his arms, gathering blue chi as he prepares to seize the initiative. Blue flames surge around Su as he concentrates the stolen fragrance and flower petals into raw power, then launches countless cyan projectiles outward, daring his hidden opponent to escape their expanding range. Sin reveals himself and stretches both palms forward, still mocking the mere student challenging him, until one brilliant shard punches into his forehead and wipes away that arrogant smile. The remaining barrage tears through Sin's aura and body, leaving the cultist unable to comprehend defeat, as his orange vortex dissolves into harmless ribbons carrying osmanthus petals around the nearby buildings, revealing Jin dead against a shattered wall while Su marvels that flowers became lethal weapons. With Principal Wu absent, the practical victor immediately searches the corpse for anything valuable and discovers a red octagonal device marked with a black infinity symbol in Jin's clothing, then experimentally presses its surface, curious about whatever function the strange object conceals, causing crimson energy to coil around the activated device while its symbol begins spinning, before it projects a holographic view of the aura-gathering tower and surrounding complex. The display announces a moving target, and Su realizes its traveling yellow marker represents someone who is already entering the heavily guarded tower grounds beneath the swirling blue currents, where exhausted Liang cautiously studies the area and notices patrols watching every approach. wondering why the number of teachers suddenly increased before spotting Chen Ying nearby. Yet the cornered infiltrator quietly laughs, apparently finding a way through the Titan defense. As Chen Jing mistakes him for a student and calls out to check whether the safe zone was attacked, Liang hunches over and pretends to be injured while the concerned teacher hurries toward him. But beneath his jacket, the cultist secretly draws a compact red weapon burning with orange energy. Chen Ying bends close to inspect the supposedly injured student, never noticing the hidden weapon at her chest, until Liang thrusts its flaming barrel against her body and catches the teacher completely by surprise, revealing a vicious grin behind his disguise as Chen realizes she walked directly into his trap before the red weapon releases a concentrated orange blast straight through her torso. Gravely wounded, Chen identifies Yama while purple energy curls around the burning hole in her chest, and the point-blank impact hurls her backward as Liang boasts this deception always works, leaving the teacher bleeding heavily and motionless across the tower grounds after the ambush, while Liang smears blood across his own face and eagerly searches for another unlucky instructor, then rearranges his expression into a convincing wounded student mask when he senses someone approaching, and quickly launches across the complex to place himself directly in the newcomer's path. Principal Wu arrives while checking his phone, already sensing something around the tower feels wrong, because he has suddenly lost contact with 3 teachers assigned to the defensive patrol, while blood-covered Liang waits ahead with glowing red eyes and another predatory smile, before trembling, reaching toward the principal, and begging to be rescued like a terrified student. Yet Wu immediately wonders why any student remains here after the complete evacuation order, but still approaches to question him, and the delighted imposter thinks his bait succeeded, allowing Liang to reach inside his coat and draw the same red chi weapon again, which spits another crimson-orange shot directly toward the unsuspecting principal at close range, only for Wu to recognize Yama instantly and raise a golden defensive hand seal, forming a blazing shield before his body as the powerful projectile crashes against it. The shot actually pierces Wu's aura shield with ease, forcing the startled principal to evade immediately, and he flashes behind Liang in a golden blur while the gunfire continues past him, before slamming a blazing golden strike into the ground where the cultist stood moments earlier. But Liang escapes through the smoke, coughing and recognizing that this opponent will be troublesome. A furious Lu Cheng suddenly catches the fleeing infiltrator and declares his rampage finally over, wrapping him in blazing orange chains before driving a savage aerial kick into his body, then plunging downward with Cav until their combined impact detonates the floor below, where the red-eyed senior teacher flips upright and raises one leg for another crushing blow, smashing Liang's head into the crater and leaving him barely able to curse his defeat, while her glowing eyes remain fixed on the cultist who attacked her fellow instructors. Liang desperately grips the charged pistol beneath her boot, but the weapon cannot rescue him, as Lu plants her heel on his chest and prepares to finish the helpless prisoner, surrounding herself with fierce red energy while vowing to avenge the gravely wounded Chen Ying, until Principal Wu orders her to spare Yama's only captive for interrogation and the larger investigation. Lu reluctantly restrains her fury, while Wu approaches the captured golden core in his weapon, realizing the pistol's power exceeds his own defenses, and other cultists may carry similar arms, so he immediately connects to the teacher's emergency channel through his restored phone, warning everyone that Yama agents disguise themselves as students and possess instantly lethal weapons, then orders Lu to transport the chained prisoner into the stadium for a full interrogation, where Su watches the tracker's moving marker brighten and realizes it may be approaching him. Chasing the bright marker around the stadium, Su briefly wonders whether Yama buried some valuable treasure, only to discover several wired explosive devices beeping beside the building's structural supports, which triggers a classroom memory of Sun Huidi teaching students how bomb circuits function, explaining that the firing wire must be cut before the detonation wire to prevent an overload, then recalling how Su accidentally snapped one during the demonstration and innocently asked what would happen, as the lesson identified green as detonation and red as firing on that practice device. Seconds before the reversed cut triggered a classroom blast that sent everyone diving for cover. Returning to the present, the soot-covered student remembers Sun's furious reaction and faces the real bombs, determined to disable Yama's explosives first despite being unable to identify which wire actually fires, so he reluctantly trusts the bald teacher's old lesson and reaches toward the colored circuits, causing the stadium's bomb signal to blink, break apart, and vanish from the remote display, which alarms Aoma because Xin was supposed to guard the explosives from interference. While exhausted Su sits among smoking components, relieved that every device has finally been disabled, then checks Shin's tracking device again to confirm whether any danger remains nearby, and receives an urgent warning that someone is racing toward his position from only 55 meters away. With no time to escape, the cultivator dives into nearby bushes and abandons the dismantled bombs, crossing his hands and repeatedly assuring himself that the approaching enemy cannot possibly see him, as Aoma storms into the clearing, confused that Shin is absent and someone has hidden, then scans the scattered components with clenched fists, searching for whoever sabotaged the operation, until the remains of the neutralized explosives catch his eye and confirm the mission failed. Ao shouts for the saboteur to stop hiding, while Su curls even tighter beneath the foliage, and the furious squad leader raises raises one hand, threatening to destroy the entire hiding place, as black gold energy spirals into a massive blazing sphere above his palm and amplifies his killing intent, while the concealed student keeps chanting that the terrifying enemy cannot possibly notice him, until Ao fires an enormous golden beam straight through every bush in front of him. Sensing murderous pressure at the last instant, Su abandons his hiding place and dodges. Just before the blast erases the vegetation and tears apart the stadium framework behind it, leaving the relieved survivor facing Ao, who demands his identity and the origin of Shin's plate. Su casually claims he found the device and offers to return it if they locate its owner, but Ao knows every Yama plate is unique, so separation from Zin proves the cultist died. Enraged, the virtuoso instantly lunges and throws a golden charge punch that the student barely avoids, and Su realizes this monster's speed and power completely surpass every opponent he faced earlier, while Ao senses only chi refining from him and angrily dismisses Zin as useless, before declaring his first attack a warm-up and whipping into a serious golden-powered kick, whose approaching pressure immediately makes the battered cultivator's instincts scream another warning inside. But the kick connects and drives him violently downward with overwhelming virtuoso force, sending Su crashing against a thick tree hard enough to burst the surrounding ground, where he coughs blood and feels as though every bone in his body shattered. Still conscious despite the agony, the injured student suddenly hears his enemy stepping closer as Ao stands over him laughing and mocks how pathetically weak he appears. Ao resumes his assault, hammering the injured student while mocking his lowly chi-refining realm, and repeated impacts erupt through the trees as the delighted virtuoso asks whether the beating feels enjoyable, laughing uncontrollably while every fresh blow echoes across the ruined stadium clearing nearby, because Su proves so durable that even Ao's hands grow tired from striking him. Yet the blood-soaked survivor still keeps Sin's red plate clenched beside him without surrendering, until Ao finally walks away, deciding Liang's progress matters more than this defeated distraction. But behind him, the barely conscious student reaches through the rubble and grabs a rough stone, making the squad leader pause in disbelief when he realizes his victim remains alive, as Su wraps the rock in roaring blue chi and refuses to let the beating pass unanswered, declaring that Kaiyuan High students are much stronger than the arrogant cultist believes. Although Ao openly laughs at the idea that a mere stone could possibly threaten him, before the battered teenager fires it like a blue comet and rushes forward behind the projectile, only for the virtuoso to catch the stone effortlessly as it shatters against his palm, exactly as Su plants one foot and immediately recognizes the opening he created, while Ao's widening eye reveals that the seemingly helpless attack concealed a second move, and the squad leader suddenly understands that his opponent used the projectile as a distraction, allowing Su to circle beside him at full speed and seize the stronger fighter from behind, where the determined student locks both arms around Ao's waist and celebrates securing his target, then uses his momentum and leverage to flip the massive virtuoso completely upside down, smashing Ao headfirst into the earth with enough force to crater the entire clearing. Yet the squad leader rises from the smoking crater as a monstrous shadow, laughing with renewed excitement, while the bloody teenager wipes his mouth and Ao praises the first worthy opponent he has met recently, before acknowledging the brat and unleashing an even fiercer golden aura around his muscular body, then charging through the smoke as Su gathers blue chi around his fist for another clash. Meanwhile at the arena, Wu and three teachers surround the chained Liang and demand his infiltration motive, but the battered cultist claims Yama's plan already succeeded and predicts the entire school will explode shortly, laughing that his captors will accompany him to hell and finally understand the Order's terrifying strength, until the furious teachers kick and scold their prisoner for forgetting that they completely control him. Wu learns the aura-gathering tower remains secure, meaning hidden bombs around campus must threaten the school, so the principal grabs Liang by the collar and demands every bomb location and remote control, when a colossal golden eruption suddenly rises beyond the trees, revealing a virtuoso master's unmistakable power. Elsewhere, the evacuated students remain sheltered inside Kaiyuan High's glowing blue safe zone formation, nervously discussing the repeated explosions while teachers refuse to explain anything or let them leave, as several girls insist the formation can block heavenly-level attacks. Though Luo silently studies her phone, remembering how Su promised to report everything to the principal after sending rescued students here, she selects his contact and immediately places a call to check his safety, growing increasingly frightened that the endlessly delayed student encountered serious trouble somewhere outside, while anxiously begging him under her breath to answer the endlessly ringing phone, only for an automated message to declare his number unavailable and tell her to retry later, leaving the terrified monitor in tears because Su never turns off his phone voluntarily. Refusing to wait helplessly, Luo clenches her phone and rises despite the danger outside, then sprints from the safe zone, desperately hoping the missing student remains alive. Back at the stadium, Ao fires another golden strike that blasts Su through the arena wall, and the battered boy admits his enemy completely outclasses him in both experience and power, while the thrilled virtuoso mistakes his boiling blood for excitement after too long without worthy heavy combat, demanding that Su surrender as a hostage until the desperate student suddenly points behind him, though Ao detects no nearby aura and laughs at the obvious attempt to bluff him, leaving the exhausted teenager's clenched fist trembling as his remaining options rapidly disappear, because Su actually hoped their spectacular collision would draw the principal and teachers toward the stadium. And he silently begs them to hurry while barely holding the advancing powerhouse back, just as several powerful auras appear atop the stadium structures and finally catch Ao's attention, making the alarmed cultist realize Su deliberately provoked that explosive clash to summon reinforcements. As Wu Defa, Sun Huidi, Zhaofei Lu Cheng, and Li Feng surround the battlefield, ordering Ao to surrender because every other Yama member has fallen and Liang supposedly betrayed him, while the chained prisoner tries to protest, only for the aura seal to punish and silence him. Enraged by his squad's failure, Ao erupts with red gold power and threatens to kill everyone together, but his shocked body suddenly stops obeying him after the prolonged battle drains his reserves, forcing the trembling virtuoso to his knees as blood pours violently from his mouth, and when he blames wasted stamina, Wu commands Sun and Lu to capture him immediately, sending Sun forward behind spiraling blue chi while Lu rockets in with blazing orange chains. Sun's concentrated blue palm slams into the weakened virtuoso before he can recover, blasting Ao forward as the teacher leaves the remaining punishment entirely to Lu, who brutally drives a ruthless orange-charged kick straight across the cultist's exposed face, launching his massive body through the stadium and into a distant concrete wall, while Lu mocks his useless muscles and Su privately marvels at her extraordinarily long legs. Yet Ao crawls from the rubble, warning that Yama always has a way to drag enemies into hell, before revealing a concealed gray detonator and defiantly pressing its glowing red button, as the cornered squad leader laughs and commands his hidden explosives to destroy Kaiyuan High, leaving everyone frozen across the devastated stadium while they await the promised catastrophe, but only awkward silence and distant cawing follow, with absolutely no explosion anywhere, making Ao stare at the useless detonator and furiously demand why nothing happened, until Su cheerfully reveals he deactivated every campus bomb while passing them earlier. And Wu offers the defeated fanatic one final chance to surrender and face judicial custody, while multiple teachers ignite their colorful auras around him and Luo finally reaches the battlefield, rushing straight to Su and explaining that his unreachable phone deeply terrified her, as the relieved survivor questions why she entered such danger, and Luo admits worrying about him. Then Ao suddenly claims one final bomb remains hidden among them, despite everyone's disbelief, and raises a hand wrapped in sinister red energy while commanding a seal to release, causing the restrained Liang to flare crimson as he recognizes the squad leader's murderous contingency, before Lu spots something on his back and Wu senses his aura increasing exponentially. Liang's body turns black, cracks with crimson energy, and begins tearing through Lu's restraints, forcing the teachers to scatter as they warn everyone that the living bomb will explode imminently. But Su orders Luo toward the principal and charges directly at the transformed prisoner, wrapping both arms around Liang's swollen body before the unstable energy can erupt. As the horrified Ao realizes his battered opponent intends something completely unexpected and dangerous, because Su launches himself and the living bomb toward Ao, returning Yama's deadly favor to its owner, and promises the two cultists can visit hell together without taking everyone else along, before hurling Liang onward and curling defensively as red energy tears across the stadium, while Wu blocks Luo from following and commands Sun and Lu to restrict the explosion. Just as the raging living bomb reaches critical mass beside his terrified squad leader, the surrounding teachers assume their assigned human and earth positions, combining blue and orange auras, while Ao desperately curses Liang and orders the mindless weapon to target their enemies instead, until Wu activates the sky position, completing the containment technique with brilliant golden power, and all three forces merge into the towering three-man aura formation around the blast, which catches the monstrous explosion inside a radiant barrier while the teachers shield nearby survivors. Yet Luo desperately calls Su's name because the reckless student remains beyond her protection. Far away, the Wuji City Judiciary Office illuminates Beathit's vast purple defensive network, where analysts inside the futuristic Judiciary Hall monitor regional aura disturbances across holographic displays and report a level 6 aura explosion at Kaiyuan High with a 100-meter impact radius, leaving their elderly commander astonished that such a powerful detonation affected so little territory. The monocled commander concludes that another force must have interfered with the blast's natural spread, since level 6 begins the large explosion category, strongly suggesting another attack by Yama's order, so the judiciary's elderly executor orders his armed attendants to accompany him to Kaiyuan High, where a vast crater still churns with red embers and towering columns of black smoke, while the charred Ao and Liang remain motionless together at the molten center. And Wu warns that even an immortality phase master might not survive such destructive power, making Luo collapse in grief as she imagines Su already dead inside the smoke, until a swaying silhouette emerges and weakly assures everyone that he remains alive, revealing the blood-covered survivor wearing a bright, exhausted smile despite his terrible wounds, though his blurred vision darkens immediately as the others rush desperately toward him, and the battered hero finally loses consciousness after staggering clear of the smoking crater, sending Luo, Wu, Sun, and the other teachers sprinting to catch their fallen student, Before Wu's golden aura threads confirm Su protected his vital organs and will survive, just as several elegant strangers step onto the ruined battlefield beside enormous purple energy blades, drawing immediate attention from Sun, Lu, and every instructor guarding the exhausted students, while the official purple-gold insignia on one woman's uniform confirms their judiciary affiliation, and four armed attendants formally escort the elderly executor toward the waiting Principal Wu, who sharply notes they should have arrived much sooner despite the executor's polite apology. But the official insists his personal appearance proves the judiciary takes Yama incident seriously, so Wu dismisses the excuse and transfers the defeated cultists and remaining investigation to them. The executor suddenly notices the charred bodies and turns serious, while one attendant watches silently, asking who defeated the apparent immortality phase attacker, only for Wu to identify his student, which leaves the judiciary delegation staring in disbelief at the idea of a student winning, especially when an attendant hears that a mere chi-refining cultivator overcame such an enemy. So the elderly official kneels beside unconscious Su and channels gentle white energy through his chest, awakening the teenager before warmly asking whether his battered body finally feels better, then manifesting an immense purple vine and golden gourd behind himself for Su to inspect. And the newly awakened patient calmly confirms he can see the mysterious cultivation image, but innocently reports numerous freckles on the old man's face instead of discussing the technique, leaving the proud executor emotionally petrified while his attendant struggles not to laugh, until he clarifies that 7 vine leaves display his phases, with the first fruit showing immortality, and Luo recognizes the fruit's pinnacle marking, revealing their visitor as an immortality phase pinnacle master, who releases intimidating purple pressure and demands completely truthful answers from the young survivor, before asking whether Su caused the devastation, which the student readily admits without hesitation. Although the suspicious official still requests scientific confirmation through a special scanning device, prompting one attendant to record his order while another immediately retrieves the required equipment, which projects a wide blue beam from its circular center after the executor activates it, scanning the fallen cultists because residual aura can reconstruct fragmented scenes surrounding their deaths, and crystalline visions replay Ao's duel with Su, sudden exhaustion, and Liang's explosive transformation, while the final fragments capture the squad leader desperately redirecting his own living bomb. Satisfied by the evidence, the executor orders both corpses transported for deeper scanning at headquarters, and requests Wu's full report while sending Luo to help the injured student rest. So the class monitor supports Su away while scolding him for another dangerously reckless victory, and he calls her nagging, despite casually promising to be more careful next time, before loudly assuring his angry monitor that he will never cause trouble again, while the watching executor finds this absurdly powerful chi-refining student extremely interesting. 3 days later, Kaiyuan High begins its rescheduled examination after announcing the Yama crisis ended, as students trade exaggerated rumors that one classmate defeated an invading immortality phase master, until Principal Wu clears his throat at the microphone and silences the restless crowd, reminding third-year students that their coming examination will help determine humanity's future defenders, before turning the entire assembly's attention toward one particular student named Su Li, whose heroism earned judiciary praise, a recommendation letter, and a guaranteed Marshall University position, sending jealous classmates into hysterics over his exemption and possible future judiciary career, while Luo warmly congratulates the embarrassed hero, who modestly credits simple luck alone, then playfully calls him a future inspector with such charm that his face instantly reddens, until nearby classmates interrupt and loudly celebrate the enormous jackpot he earned today, before Sun hugs his exceptional pupil, who sincerely thanks the teacher for finding another path, and the proud instructor replies that helping students is his duty, but forbids Su from neglecting training. Then the gathered teachers send him home to recover, and he promises not to disappoint them. So that night, the exhausted teenager finally returns to his enormous mountain estate. Su celebrates his hard-earned vacation inside the quiet mansion, but his unresolved cultivation problem remains, and even while soaking in a bath, he keeps wondering how to reach Foundation establishment, until a late visitor repeatedly presses the doorbell beside a warning against exactly that behavior, making the dripping homeowner wonder who could possibly arrive at such an unreasonable hour, before he throws on casual clothes and hurries through the luxurious living room, only to discover an elegantly dressed woman waiting impatiently outside his front door, whom he recognizes as Teacher Lu and questions about her unexpected nighttime visit. While she presents a sealed judiciary envelope and explains that Principal Wu sent her, privately suspecting the troublesome principal personally assigned her another unpleasant task during vacation, as Su tries postponing their conversation until school reopens because he has not fully recovered. But Lu kicks straight through his door when the exhausted student attempts closing it, then mentions his university and career, instantly persuading the tearful teenager to invite her inside, where she explains the judiciary recommendation guarantees him employment immediately after university graduation, although their small condition requires 1 month of summer training inside the underground guild, and the intrigued student carefully rereads the official document before understanding that dangerous requirement, then reacts with pure horror upon recognizing the infamous organization named in his assignment, because the underground guild controls a criminal network inside the lawless border city's depths, where murder, robbery, kidnapping, and lethal street battles occur openly every single day, while the guild posts unrestricted private bounties and members frequently betray even their own teammates, as one ruthless trio demonstrates by killing their target and collecting 150,000 reward. Facing that nightmare, Sue fears Underground City could kill him before university even begins, so he returns the letter, rejects both guarantees, and vows to enroll another way. But Lou calmly activates a glowing ring before letting him walk away from everything, revealing she anticipated his fear and prepared several treasures for protection inside the guild, including a resurrection pill that saves anyone who swallows it while their final breath remains, plus kill-in armor blocking ordinary weapons and every cultivator attack below the incarnation phase. Yet Sue refuses these priceless treasures with an awkward smile and tells Lou to keep them, so she produces one final temptation, a limited Underground Guild VIP card owned by celebrities, claiming its golden authority lets him travel through Underground City without encountering any trouble. While Sue studies the card and senses something suspicious behind her generous offer, reasoning that something truly powerful would never be handed over this easily by his teacher, and Lou suddenly slams both hands down when his stubborn skepticism refuses to break, demanding confirmation while the nervous teenager wonders whether she plans to force him, before unleashing snow manifestation, shaping her aura into a freezing storm throughout his mansion, then revealing Underground Guild training might finally teach Sue how to reach Foundation establishment, since true mastery would let him control his massive aura just as freely as she does, whereas his enormous reserves currently emerge only as crude, unstructured energy without proper release methods. Unlike Lu's snowflake, formed by compressing aura and granting it an elemental nature, because pressure determines energy's shape while an infused element determines the form it takes, and she respects how Sue conquered every test despite the discouraging handicap his teacher described. Lu argues his comfortable life lacked external danger, possibly preventing his long-awaited breakthrough, because people improve when challenges force them beyond limits, exactly what Sue needs now. And despite Underground City's danger, her treasures and VIP card should guarantee his safety, leaving the shaken cultivator to admit her frighteningly passionate argument actually makes sense, since constant resources made him strong early, but also kept serious training pressure away, making him wonder whether that protected environment truly blocked his advancement into Foundation establishment. As Lu politely accepts either decision but begins reclaiming every treasure if he refuses, prompting Sue to snatch back the letter and stammer that he will join the guild, although he secretly plans to hide nearby immediately whenever any worst-case scenario develops, avoid dangerous incidents, dangerous bounties, and every dangerous person throughout his entire assignment, then survive 1 month, keep the treasures, and claim guaranteed university admission without any downside, while Lu heads for the door and her delighted student greedily hugs his new protection, declaring everything settled before leaving another suspicious hole smashed through the mansion wall, and promising someone will collect Sue for Underground City at 10 the following morning, when the next day's relentless doorbell summons him outside beneath a bright summer sky. As the fully dressed traveler grabs his sunglasses and rushes excitedly toward the entrance, only to open his battered door and find Luo Xin waiting instead of Lu, wearing sporty red shorts and a matching cap while asking whether he feels happy, then explaining their teacher ordered her to escort him, despite his questions about entrance exams, because Marshall University's added beast hunting to prepare students for the coming chaotic age. Luo reveals her father's secret information and warns danger, while Sue jokes she might cry, then confidently walks the wrong direction, proving exactly why Lu assigned Luo as guide, until they reach a narrow, red-lit canyon where Sue admits fear and requests protection, causing Luo to cling tightly around his arm while the embarrassed young man protests, before the pair emerges beneath blood-red lightning and discovers Underground City's towering entrance, a colossal armored gate looming among industrial towers under an ominous storm-darkened sky, where one board guard spits aside and complains that his crew always draws duty, while another drinks nearby, grumbling no visitors arrive this late and wages barely cover alcohol, until a lookout peers through his scope and notices movement approaching across the ground, shouting for his armed brothers when Sue and Lua appear directly beneath their balcony. Though the watchmen dismiss them as inexperienced students and mock the supposed lovebirds' date, then hungrily decide this unsuspecting pair will become their lucky catch for tonight. Launching from Underground City's 250th level with blades, clubs, and axes ready for battle, while one startled criminal drops his bowl as the entire ambush suddenly begins, and all 4 savage gatekeepers dive down together, roaring that it is time to work, even as Luo innocently calls upward for someone to open the gate and admit them, making the attackers laugh that prey has voluntarily delivered itself to hunters for once, before their broadsword leader crashes down first, striking an intimidating landing pose before the students, and orders his partners to pose, completely interrupting the expected attack with theatrical nonsense, revealing 4 ridiculously proud night watchers whom Luo correctly advises Sue not to provoke. Their leader finally demands an entrance payment and threatens the students for ruining his crew's mood, so Sue reaches into his pocket and pulls out the supposedly useless golden card, then hurls it as a distraction, hoping its flashy appearance will confuse these hostile gatekeepers. Although the broadsword wielder mistakes the spinning card for another dangerous incoming projectile, and gets knocked backward when its razor-straight edge clips him squarely across the forehead, sending his furious partners charging forward and accusing Sue of launching a cowardly sneak attack. While Luo praises his consistent, accurate, merciless assassin talent, despite Sue claiming pure luck, as the shallowly wounded leader trembles with rage and struggles back onto his feet, then demands enormous compensation before allowing his unexpected attacker anywhere near the entrance, making Sue realize this supposedly injured gatekeeper might simply be running a shameless scam, until the bleeding man finally stops to examine the black and gold object that struck him, and recognizes Underground Guild VIP card number 09, bearing Principal Wu Defa's name, prompting him to rush closer so quickly that his baffled companions recoil behind him, then bow deeply, apologize for every misunderstanding, and order the towering gate opened immediately, while Sue wonders whether that card injured his brain because the attitude change seems impossible, before the suddenly respectful guard carefully returns the rare pass to its confused holder, who finally accepts Lu was truthful about traveling safely through Underground City with it, as the colossal red-line doors separate and grant both students passage into the depths, while the Night Watchers explain that provoking number 009 students guarantees a horrible death, since Wu Defa has trained third years here for 10 years, producing many famous martial masters. Yet behind them, the guards wonder why Wu sent someone still stuck in chi refining, while Underground City overwhelms Sue with neon noise, open violence, solicitations, and assassination chatter, until Luo projects a map showing the Central Guild is reachable along every road, leading them toward a massive Gothic complex where cultivators streak between towers like fiery comets and into its cathedral-sized hall, crowded with criminals registering missions, bounties, and challenges, where Sue presents Wu's VIP card and politely asks what first-time visitors must do, earning immediate personal service from a silver-haired receptionist who invites both students to follow, while shocked guild members question whether this young newcomer could really possess overwhelming strength, before another receptionist announces that Principal Wu has personally called about his arrival, and Wu orders Sue to learn the guild's survival rules independently throughout this month, after which the staff hands him a key card for private room number 307, plus VIP Beast Arena registration requiring the nervous newcomer to complete his first duel, leaving Sue and Luo equally horrified when they realize combat begins before anything else, as the playful receptionists touch him closely and explain that he clearly misunderstands local rules, since every newcomer battles a beast to determine rank, though beginners supposedly receive weaker opponents. Then they escort the increasingly uncomfortable pair toward an elevator descending to the underground arena, and select basement level 10 among controls continuing far deeper below the guild, making both students wonder what terrifying secret waits on the elevator's lowest numbered floor, while their guides warn danger increases with depth and advise against wandering alone, before opening the doors at level 10 and presenting the arena with cheerful cautions. Stepping onto the viewing platform, Sue immediately studies the brutal match already underway below, where a red-eyed black bear charges Dali, a muscular fighter grinning back savagely, and clamps its jaws around his head while supporters scream for their champion to punch, as gamblers roar from packed stands, some wagering their entire life savings on Dali, who seizes the beast and smashes it downward hard enough to earn an immediate knockout, raising his victory rating and awarding supporters 50,000 while the excited announcer continues, by promising the next contestant is Underground Guild history's youngest VIP cardholder, and calls Suli directly into the arena because VIP members skip every waiting line, although the reluctant teenager removes his jacket as Luo desperately warns him to stay careful, then strides beneath the central spotlight and assures his worried companion everything will be fine, while spectators assume someone holding such prestige this young must be at least virtuoso phase, until the announcer reads Sue's file, discovers chi refining, and wonders whether registration is wrong, triggering merciless laughter, accusations that he stole the card, and eager bets on his death, though Sue remembers facing and even killing powerful beasts before, despite crediting those victories to luck, as an arena worker unlocks the chained enclosure and officially begins the newcomer duel, revealing a growling silhouette whose sharp teeth and burning red eyes gleam behind steel bars, before one gigantic claw strikes the floor, making Sue question why they released this monster, since horrified spectators warn it can slaughter virtuoso cultivators while Luo anxiously prays for him, and the announcer names it the ever-victorious Rainbow Steel Wolf, contradicting every beginner-friendly promise, as the supposedly weak opponent emerges wreathed in crimson flames and advances towards Sue. The announcer privately panics because his script promised a wolf pup, not this fully grown killer, while a hidden spectator calmly swirls red wine from a darkened private viewing booth, where an employee confirms Elder Hua ordered the scheduled Grade E beast replaced with Grade A, and the hooded elder plans to blame any investigation on an innocent mistake afterward, as the wolf stalks forward with deadly speed, patiently waiting for the perfect opening, then stamps one huge paw down and finally commits to its lightning-fast attack, exploding across the arena towards Sue while Luo screams encouragement from the stands, and the challenger prepares an aura defense, refusing humiliation during his very first match, rapidly drawing power from 100 chi refining levels, then 1,000 more, until the advancing wolf collides with a tremendous wall of concentrated blue pressure, released at 10,000 levels in a violent pulse that shakes the entire arena, and sends the supposedly unbeatable beast flying backward into the crowded spectator stands, smashing front row seats apart while terrified gamblers demand workers protect them from falling debris, as the embarrassed announcer promises to handle the unexpected disaster and rushes toward the damage. But the wolf rises within the wreckage, making wounded spectators regret buying dangerous front row tickets. While both receptionists teasingly praise Luo's brave boyfriend for flooring a great beast, and the blushing class monitor denies their romance, privately astonished because even she might lose, when the battered rainbow steel wolf plants its claws and defiantly stands once again, then circles Sue inside a fiery vortex, concealing the timing and angle of its counterattack, before unleashing Shadow Clone Attack and sending 4 identical wolves charging from every direction. Unable to identify the original, Sue plants both palms down and spreads blue aura, prompting the announcer to wonder whether releasing such dense energy could possibly counter them. Before Sue chooses the simplest solution, killing every copy with one huge aura explosion, detonating a brilliant blue sphere that cracks the floor and erases surrounding shadow bodies. While its force catches the real wolf mid-lunge and locks that predator within radiant pressure, astonishing announcer and workers when a Greta monster becomes completely immobilized against a chi refiner, as its trembling limbs strain uselessly and its claws scrape helplessly across broken stone, allowing the calm cultivator to extend one bare hand directly toward its gaping jaws, grab the beast inside its mouth, and declare that he has finally caught it, before smashing the massive wolf downward hard enough to finish the undefeated monster instantly, leaving Sue mostly worried whether the enormous crater means he must pay arena repair costs, while a veterinarian confirms the fallen rainbow steel wolf died despite staff's desperate efforts, and the announcer officially awards victory to Sue, forcing the mocking crowd into roaring celebration, as delighted Luo jumps for joy and proudly insists she always knew he could win, before golden energy gathers from the defeated beast while the announcer prepares to reveal rewards, extracting a brilliant Greta Plus beast crystal from within the smoking wolf's huge body, which spectators value at least 100 million, though hunting such monsters means almost certain death, and Sue is stunned when the announcer hands the priceless crystal directly to the victorious newcomer, explaining beast loot belongs to the victor alongside 500 guild points, their currency for any desired item, making Sue realize beast crystals fuel pills, cultivation, and weapon forging, so he needs many. Studying his prize, Sue learns higher-grade crystals contain more energy and command exponentially greater value, then imagines daily victories transforming him into Wuji City's billionaire, surrounded by cars, servants, and admirers, while a receptionist leans close to congratulate his first victory, an especially valuable crystal, leaving the greedy teenager daydreaming happily until Luo gives his love-struck expression a puzzled look. Elsewhere, furious Elder Hua crushes a wineglass after realizing Sue survived another deliberate trap, then demands confirmation that requested fighters were hired, and an attendant announces their woman has arrived, as a mysterious challenger walks alone through a shadowed arena doorway toward the victorious student, revealing a powerfully muscled build beneath a black combat outfit and matching arm guards, plus silver hair, a dark face mask, and a strange green device around her neck, before she raises one hand and publicly declares her intention to challenge Su Li, making the announcer instantly invite the previous victor into his first human challenge match. While spectators assume the masked woman wants his crystal and gossip about the newcomer's sudden fame, although Luo protests he has not rested, the receptionist insists Su must return immediately, because anyone inside the arena, even audience members, must accept every direct challenge under guild rules, leading the irritated teenager to complain that Underground Guild has far too many regulations. While Luo angrily points toward the challenger and worries about another unfair fight, but Sue accepts confidently, promising to reveal some real strength and return safely, then faces the imposing masked woman beneath twin spotlights across the shattered battlefield, where her glowing eyes and tightly controlled posture radiate disciplined, overwhelming menace towards Sue, causing the usually relaxed chi refiner to widen his eyes upon sensing something extraordinary. Sue spots a Yama order tattoo across her abdomen and realizes those pests have returned, as the announcer explains this battle has no time limit and virtually no restrictions, even allowing the winner to seize anything from the loser, including their very life. Then the masked assassin suddenly draws a concealed blade, catching Sue completely by surprise, before diving straight at the strongest chi-refining student she has ever encountered, while Elder Hua grips a glowing control device and coldly condemns his enemy to death, as the silver-haired powerhouse rushes forward wielding a sharp dagger in each hand, forcing Sue to dodge her lethal thrust while incredulously questioning why she carries weapons. But she reminds him weapons remain legal, then unleashes another sweeping slash at his torso, and her green neck device buzzes ominously while the relentless fighter closes in again, launching herself through a spectacular acrobatic combination that keeps Sue scrambling above the floor, before extracting yet another hidden blade from the reinforced heel of her boot, then whips that bladed leg around as Sue senses the situation becoming genuinely dangerous, driving the vicious strike directly toward his exposed kidney with enough force to kill, only for the concealed blade to shatter instantly against something impossibly hard beneath his shirt, revealing the gleaming golden Keelan armor that absorbed her ambush before she could pierce him. While Sue recalls teacher Lu promising the hidden garment could block ordinary weapons completely. Although this shameless powerhouse still earns his fury for ripping apart his brand new shirt, and another broken blade scatters across the arena as her follow-up strike fails equally badly, leaving the masked Yama fighter staring at Sue's unharmed body in absolute disbelief. Sue immediately surges forward, refusing to give the stunned assassin another chance to recover, then grabs her face and denounces the Yama Order's endless supply of underhanded tricks, while simultaneously ripping away the mysterious green control device hanging around her neck, before delivering a brutal flying kick that connects squarely with the powerhouse's wounded face, sending blood streaming from her forehead as the devastating impact empties her terrified eyes, and launches her backward so violently that veteran spectators scramble away from another collision, before her muscular body crashes into the wall and blasts stone fragments everywhere, leaving her embedded unconscious as astonished viewers call Sue's single kick an instant knockout, while gamblers celebrate betting everything on the newcomer and mercilessly mock their bankrupt companions. Then the announcer checks the fallen assassin's unresponsive eyes for any remaining consciousness, confirms she is completely passed out, and officially awards this weapons-allowed match to Sue, triggering roaring applause, ecstatic fans, and delighted bettors who recover everything from the previous round, as one adorable supporter leaps above the crowd and proclaims that Sue Lee is unbeatable, while the guild promotes him to grade D and transfers the loser's points into his account, bringing his first day balance to 2,000 before the announcer ends today's arena program. But Elder Hua cannot understand how his Foundation establishment pinnacle assassin fell from one kick, until a sudden alert makes the hooded conspirator snap his attention toward the control device, which pulses bright crimson inside his hand, signaling an urgent incoming encrypted communication, then projects a red holographic connection that fills the dark observation room with ominous light. As a Yama superior orders Sue eliminated before he disrupts their remaining plans, the superior confidently praises Elder Hua's reliability while contemptuously comparing him with useless Ao Ma, and Hua immediately orders a message delivered to an operative identified only as number 23, directing the chosen agents to meet him tonight at their familiar secret location. Meanwhile, Lua abruptly grabs Sue's hand and insists they leave the exposed arena immediately, because he recognized the defeated challenger as another Yama Order assassin lurking inside Underground City, and suspects their city-destroying ambitions involve something far larger than stealing his valuable beast crystal. So both teenagers descend to basement 12, while promising to remain constantly alert for danger, where Sue marvels that every guild level serves a different purpose before finding their rooms. Then Lua reveals she lives next door and tells the exhausted fighter to call any time, although she shyly lingers behind her door just long enough to praise today's amazing performance, making both teenagers blush furiously before Sue stammers goodnight and quickly closes his own door, then secures the room's heavy chain lock against assassins who might attack during the night, before calling Principal Wu to report encountering Yama members and uncover their mysterious objective, while the principal answers from Kaiyuan High's quiet office, wondering about this unusually late call, only to react in alarm when Sue identifies his underground guild challenger as an assassin, then urgently asks whether either student suffered injuries during their encounter with the cult. As Sue recounts the entire battle and reassures him that both teenagers remain perfectly safe, prompting Wu to promise a thorough investigation and demand frequent contact throughout this dangerous assignment. Though the worried principal privately questions both Yama's underground presence and the judiciary's apparent inaction, before selecting the judiciary entry from his phone's contact list to demand answers. Wu's call reaches a suspiciously chaotic judiciary service hall staffed by an unconcerned female operator who claims her organization never received any report about Yama invading Kaiyuan High School, leaving the principal utterly stunned that such a catastrophic assault somehow vanished from official records. Because judiciary personnel personally removed at least one dead Yama cultist from the battlefield, yet the operator silently bristles at Wu's accusation while continuing to paint her fingernails, then firmly insists they received neither an invasion report nor any Yama member's corpse, before disconnecting and leaving Wu wondering how the bodies he witnessed could simply disappear. As he remembers judiciary attendants sealing both charred corpses inside glowing blue containment bubbles. Meanwhile, two hooded figures gather beneath neon lights within Underground City's hidden streets, where Elder Hua meets the smaller conspirator and calmly apologizes for making him wait, then presents two enormous upright containers holding the special items he brought for tonight, whose heavy doors suddenly unlock and begin opening ominously within the deserted alley, revealing the supposedly dead Liang Yangui and Ao Ma restrained alive inside, with Liang somehow upgraded to beginner virtuoso while resurrected Ao remains at virtuoso pinnacle, as Hua affectionately calls them experimental ingredients, and Ao demands his next assignment, which involves killing someone dangerous enough for Elder Hua to supervise the operation personally, since Hua warns that their chi refining target has already killed a virtuoso master, although the monstrous Ao merely laughs and imagines transforming Sue into his perfect experimental ingredient, while Hua, secretly a Judiciary Ninth Squad captain, orders them to prevent Sue leaving Underground City alive.